shit from the... We don't take shit from the...
You're gonna hate me because I come to your town and we beat your team.
You're now tuned in to one of the realest sports podcasts for Kentucky basketball.
3 in the air, good again!
And football.
The Kentucky defense steps up again.
Just an opinionated Kentucky sports fan podcast.
Maybe it's a Kentucky accent.
With Jay Hayes and JD Hall. This is what we do.
Let's go!
Religiously Kentucky.
Big Blue Nation, what is up? I'm your guy, Jay Hayes, and he is
JD Hall, his voice of reason.
And we are Religiously Kentucky. What is up?
What's going on, man?
Oh, nothing. How's it going?
Dude, I'm beat.
Beat. Yeah, you look tired. That's what I was like.
I'm very tired.
Yeah, we all get that way sometimes.
3:45 mornings, after a late game.
Yeah. Kentucky fans,
they don't go together real well.
Kentucky fans do that. Like it'll be a 9 o'clock game and you got to get up at 4:30 or 5. And Kentucky fans are staying up to watch the game.
If I was getting up at 4,
next day,
if it was 4:30 or 5 for a 9 o'clock game, I'd do it.
Right.
Getting up at 3:45, I can't do a 9 o'clock game. That's just that's just too late, because it still takes me, no matter if we win or lose, it takes me a minute to wind down after the game to be able to fall asleep. So it's a 9 o'clock game, even if it ends at 11 and I'm in bed right away, there's no way I'm getting even 4 hours of sleep because I've got to just breathe and just relax after the game.
Right.
And if it's a loss, it takes even longer.
Yeah.
So
that's true. I got to record the games and then I get home normally about 3:30 or 4, sometimes 5 in the morning, and then I watch the game in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
That's
what I did when I was on.
I like watching the game in real time. So I hate it, but you got to do what you got to do.
But you can watch it faster that way too. So you don't have to watch. You don't have to worry about commercials or halftime or any of the other stuff. So for you, it works out that way. Or you can just wait for the link to come out on YouTube where the guy compresses everything and takes out all the commercials, and it's like an hour and 15-minute game.
Right. Right. Which wasn't the case earlier in this week. And we'll get to that. But I want to touch on this real quick. JD, I miss college football. I absolutely miss college football.
I'm excited. It's only been over for like a month.
I know. And I'm excited for this coming year.
Mm-hmm.
Or Kentucky football. Let me ask you this real quick, and we'll get into these last week games. Do we have a new offensive coordinator? Offensive
new offensive coordinator. If we've got new offensive coordinator, what the hell happened? Because that's some news that I missed today.
Right,
man. We do.
Offensive line
I think we
coach.
do. It's it looks like it's going to be San Francisco's assistant offensive line coach. Who's from Kentucky and I think coached with or played with Coach Slammin.
Yeah.
So he's got that relationship with him, and kind of knows what he was all about and probably understands the tradition that they built for the Big Blue Wall.
Right.
Because it's obvious Wolford didn't. Because for him to leave the way that he left was a shitty move.
Right.
Like you don't call your offensive line. You don't come back and tell your head coach that you're leaving. You're on a recruiting trip for your current team, and then all of a sudden you're recruiting that same kid to the team you're going to. Like all that stuff that went on around that, it's probably a good thing that he's gone because it's probably pretty obvious that he wasn't a good fit for kind of the culture that Stoops has built around the program, with loyalty and all that stuff. So hopefully this guy coming in understands that and can continue on with the same kind of tradition that Schlarman built while he was here.
Right. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I miss college football.
And it's always and you can never complain if you're hiring an NFL coach
right
on your college staff.
Regardless,
That's always
if
a
he's from
great
the 49ers or not.
that's always a great move if you can upgrade or bring in a coach to your college football coaching staff who is currently on an NFL staff.
Right.
So,
yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to talk about my predictions for next year, and we'll get to that on down the road. But now let's talk some Kentucky basketball. This week, the first game this past Wednesday, Kentucky versus Vandy.
God,
Kentucky
that was
pulled
an
it
awful
out.
game.
Yeah, Kentucky pulled it out, of course, winning 77-70, but it was slow
Oh my God.
going. It was like you mentioned, the YouTube guy compresses it down. That game was a nightmare.
Yeah. I mean,
It was slow and it was ugly, and what a win is
it
a win.
was a win is a win. But that was a hard game to watch.
It
Like,
was.
there was no flow to it. And you kind of notice that with teams that Kentucky really out talents.
Yeah.
Instead of them trying to actually play the game of basketball, they start the game by seeing what they can get away with.
Yeah.
With fouls and that type of stuff. And then when they see that they can push and grab and pull and smack and get away with a lot of different fouls, especially on the inside, then that's what they do. And they continue to do it the whole game. It started out
35 free throws that game.
Yeah, and it started out in the first half. We were getting out, we were running a little bit, we were able to get ahead of their defense. But it didn't stay that way.
Right.
and once it got to that point where they could employ the hack-a-shack on everybody and get away with it, the pace of the game slowed way down. And
say slow, like
oh my God,
slow.
it was.
I'm gonna put an effect on that.
It was awful slow. Like, I think that game ended up being like 2.5 hours long.
Yeah,
and that's a long college basketball game.
Yes.
Yes. But Kentucky pulled it out. Like,
right. Winning by 7.
The refs were horrible.
Yeah.
Both ways. They were just terrible. Fouls they weren't calling. Some of the fouls they did call. Now, like Scottie Pippen Jr. got called for a foul. I think it was on Oscar or Keon, one of the guys down in the paint, where he swiped down and he never touched him. Right. Like, I'll flat out say he never touched him. It wasn't a foul. The guy back behind him called the foul because he saw the swipe.
Right.
But he never touched him. But on the other hand, he got away with one of the more egregious offensive fouls I have ever seen in my life. That was called a foul on Ty.
Stiff armed him.
Oh my God. Ty, is coming down the floor and is kind of trailing him, but he's able to start getting in front of him. All the contact was initiated by Pippen.
Right.
He threw his arm out, knocked Ty back like 10, 12 feet, and then you hear the whistle, and it's like, all right, charge. And they call foul on Ty. It's like, are you kidding me? Right. So the refs influenced a lot of what we saw in that game, mostly pace-wise, because they were bad and they missed a lot of calls. Could you imagine if they had called every foul in that game?
Yeah, Kentucky went 25 of 35 from the free throw line.
Yeah.
And I will say Kentucky also went 22 of 59 or 57 from the field at 38%, 8 of 18 from 3 at 44%.
In the first half, though, they shot 50%.
Right.
The second half of that game, only shot like 28% in that game. So that was the effect of all the smacking and grabbing and stuff that they were getting away with, causing us to miss some shots that we should have made. But I'll take a win. Keon Brooks had another 20-piece.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of consistency you want to see out of him. The energy, hitting that mid-range jumper. Started out a little rough. I think he missed like his first 3 or 4 shots. But he ended up shooting like, what was it, 7 for 11 or something like that.
Yeah,
from
something
the
like
field. So he ended up hitting a lot of those mid-range jumpers.
Mr. Mid-range.
Yep. He hit his foul shots. Oscar was Oscar again. What do you have? 17 rebounds.
Yep.
I don't have the stats in front of me. So 14 points, I think. 17 rebounds.
Yeah.
Ty struggled a little bit. Which is understandable. Like we said before, after the Kansas game, he missed, practice time, so it's still working that rust off.
Right.
Only played 19 minutes in that game, I think it was, which is down from his season average of like 33 or 34.
Right.
Severe didn't score any points. So taking all that into consideration, it's a good win.
Yeah. 77 to 70 is
because Vandy's got some good players.
They do.
Scottie Pippen Jr. plays out of control, too out of control. He turns the ball over way too much, and it hurts his team. Now, saying that, he scored 33 points. But
he's a baller.
He is. Now, would his style of play fit and work on Kentucky's team? Because we saw, if you looked at Twitter a lot after the game, there was a lot of people who were like, man, his last time playing in Rupp until next season when he's playing with Kentucky. A lot of people are wanting him to transfer to Kentucky or think that it's a possibility he could transfer to Kentucky. But Cal ain't going to let him get away, even if he were to transfer, with some of the stuff that he does at Vandy.
Right.
He turned the ball over twice by stepping on the baseline.
Yeah.
He throws the ball away. He's a ball-dominant point guard who doesn't really make his teammates any better. He can score on his own, and he can get his own. But one of the big things as a point guard is being able to get your teammates involved.
Right.
And make your teammates better. And I don't think he does that at a really high level.
Right. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky out-rebounded 37 to 30.
Right.
How? Right.
It wasn't Oscar's fault.
Right. It's just one of those.
Because Oscar did
one of those things.
It's one of those things. You got long rebounds. You got going for a block shot where a guy misses it. So an unblocked defender, uncovered defender gets a backside rebound.
Right.
Rebounding is about toughness and hustle. If you're the tougher team and you're hustling harder, hustling more than the other team, you're going to get more rebounds.
Right. Because
you can be in a position earlier, and you're just going to be, a half step ahead of other people going for the ball. If it's a long rebound. So I think sometimes the rest of the team around Oscar kind of just watches Oscar do his thing because it's amazing to watch him rebound basketballs.
Yes, it is.
There were a lot of rebounds that he was smacked and dropped, which go as a rebound for Vandy because he never fully controlled the ball. But it's just one of those things. We're still one of the best rebounding teams in the country, even with being out rebounded like that.
Right. Oscar had.
We also had a lot more possessions, and because we shot the ball so bad in the second half, there's a lot of rebound opportunities for Vandy.
Right.
So it's just one of those things. I think it's more of an anomaly than anything else.
Right. Oscar had 17 and 11, but I want to roll into the Saturday game saying this. I didn't feel like Oscar was himself. What I'm seeing is some fumbling around with the ball, stuff like that, and just which makes him look like he's out of sorts. And then carried over into the Alabama game,
Mm-hmm.
because in the Vandy game he had 4 turnovers. In the Bama game, he had 3 turnovers, and he's fumbling it. I do not like the one-handed pass, but you're seeing those things, and I don't care about the missed dunks and stuff like that. They're trying to kill the rim. Sometimes you don't have a good grip on the ball when you go up that quick. I feel like those things happen, but when you're fumbling around with the ball, it makes you look unsure.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, Oscar's bad game. I mean,
he had 10 and
what-
15, and he had 4 steals. He had a block.
Right.
So he tied a career high again with 4 steals.
Right.
I think the stat was he tied the record ever for a Kentucky player at Bama for rebounds and steals in a
Yes.
game.
Yep.
I believe he had a block. So
Yep.
He had a good game. It just didn't feel like he had a
Right.
good game because he shot 4. He was 4 of 13, I think it was, from
Yeah.
the field. And how many of those were right there at the rim?
Right.
And I think it was kind of a hangover from that Vandy game.
Yeah.
Because I think Alabama tried to play kind of the same way with him. And then you got that 7-footer because, he struggled against length.
Yeah.
To score over length because I think he just tries to be too cute at times with it instead of just going strong into their chest and getting your room and going up strong with the ball. I think he tries to get too cute around length and keep the ball away from them too much while he's going up for the shot.
Right.
And then he just misses it. But that being said, he still had 10 and 15.
Yeah, in 28 minutes.
In 28 minutes.
So it's hard to say,
he
was horrible.
And he wasn't the only person that was like fumbling on catches and stuff like that. Because
let me say this, dude. Do not throw one-handed passes. Quit it. I hate that. That's one of the things that I see that just drives me nuts.
Davion dropped one on a fast break. That was a sure layup. He had another one to go off his hands. I think in a half-court set. Severe tried to hit Ty on a run out and he threw it too far.
Yeah.
So it was just everything was just off a little bit for Kentucky because we had our chances to put up a big number offensively against Alabama. Now, granted, Alabama had their chances to put up a big number too offensively because they shot 33s, but they only made 3 of them.
Right. Well, and let me say, Kentucky held Alabama to the season low, 55 points, 28% from the field, and 10% from 3.
Right.
I mean, that says a lot.
And that's after the 1 for 22 that they held Texas A&M to.
Yep.
So in their in 2 of the last 3 road games, they've held teams to 4 for 52 from 3-point line. Yeah. I don't know what Auburn was, but that's pretty good defense.
Yeah.
Now, you didn't have the good thing for Kentucky is you didn't have the guys that Alabama wants shooting threes. They weren't the ones really shooting the threes. Now, Keon Ellis, Shackelford, and Quinterly, I think they took 17 of their 33s. If I'm remembering the stats right. But they only hit 2.
Right.
Because they weren't getting great looks. We were closing out 2 hands up. They weren't getting a lot of space. And Keon Ellis was actually the player to hit both 3s. So Shackelford and Quinterly missed all their 3s. And then you had Rojas that pulled an 0 for Jawan Gary went 0 for and then JD Davison that was like 1 for 3 or whatever. But the guys that were primarily shooting their open shots were the guys that you wanted shooting their open shots. Rojas only made 3 threes coming in. JD Davison was only shooting like 24% from 3 in league play. So those are the guys you want taking their threes. But then you got Shackelford and Quinterly, like I said. They did take quite a few, but they weren't open. They didn't get any open looks. And that was the key to that game, was they never got the space to get a good look at three. And when they did, they still missed it. I think they might have had 2 or 3 threes that were just open, and they still missed them.
It was a hard game to watch too.
It was. I mean, but Kentucky got out of the gate kind of slow.
Yeah.
Down 9-1.
Yep.
But then after that, they outscored them 65-46.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about this team, that once they get comfortable in a game, if they start out slow like they did against Bama, when they get comfortable in a game, they can go on an extended run like that where they outscore you by 20 for the rest of the game.
Right.
And you mentioned Vandy out rebounding Kentucky.
Alabama
did.
Well.
Alabama did too. I think it was 47-44 was the rebounding numbers. So it was only a three rebound differential.
Yeah, it wasn't the 30-37 like Vandy.
But again, there was a lot of fluke rebounds that went Bama's way, especially early in the game. They were getting a lot of those long rebounds. Yeah,
right.
When you miss a shot so bad it bounces 20 feet back away from the basket.
Yeah.
So you're as a defense, you're going to give up a lot of those long rebounds anyway.
Yeah.
Because everybody's not. I mean, you have guys that are going for the break, and you have guys that are crashing the board. So you have nobody in between those 2 areas. So getting those long rebounds is generally going to end up in the offense's hands. But they cleaned that up as the game went on. You still had a couple here and there, but it wasn't like it was in the first half.
Right.
But to win that type of game, and here, going to that game, Kentucky, I think, was 5th in the KenPom, 4th in the KenPom, and they had the number 4 offense and the number 19 defense. So as poorly as they shot in that game, and if you look at the stats and you see the points per possession, they only scored 0.9 points per possession, which isn't good. They only dropped 1 spot in the KenPom, so they went from 4 to 5 in the offense. But defensively, they jumped up 8 spots. They went from 19 to 11.
Right.
So it moved them up to number 3 in the KenPom. And I think they're one of 2 or 3 teams in the country in the KenPom that are in the top 12 in both offense and defense.
Right. Just some stats real quick for the Alabama game. Kentucky went 24 of 60 from the field at 40%, 4 of 11 from 3 at 36%, and 14 of 19 from the free throw line. Oscar Tshiebwe, 10 of 15, horrible game. 10 points, 15 rebounds, just horrible. Brooks had 10 points and 5 rebounds. Grady, 10 points and 4 rebounds. Willard didn't have any points, but he had 3 rebounds and 7 assists. And Ty had 15 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. Now, which brings me to Damian Collins.
Yes.
9 minutes of play, 10
minutes, 10 points,
6 rebounds.
Yes. Hit all his free throws, 6 for 6 from the line.
Hey, you know how happy I was? Because that's my guy. I love it.
And this was the type of game that he can play in, right?
Yeah, right.
You still saw at times like him getting knocked on his ass from not very much contact.
Right.
Like the rebound in the lane off the free throw where I don't know what happened. He just fell.
Right.
And ended up turning the ball over. But the way Alabama was playing defense, especially if Ty was driving to the basket and Damian was in there, they crashed from that opposite side. So they leave that dunker spot open.
Right.
And you just throw it up to him. And they did that a couple of times to him. Those were a couple of his baskets were those lobs. He had another one that they almost hit, but he got fouled on, made his free throws.
Beautiful free throw shot.
Yeah. The kid's got a good stroke. And if he stays, another year, another 2 years or whatever, and gets stronger, he doesn't necessarily have to get bulkier,
Right.
but he's got to get stronger.
A little bit of weight.
He's going to have to put on some weight, but he's never going to be a guy that's going to be 240.
Right.
He came into Kentucky, 180, something like that, 185.
Very thin. Very thin.
So if you can get him to 200, 205, now you've got somebody that can take a little bit of that physical banging and not get knocked off his spot as easily, maybe finish those lobs through contact.
Right.
Because he's a little bit stronger, he's a little bit heavier. But he's got that nice form on his shot. And there was a lot of talk in the offseason coming through offseason workouts and all that stuff about him being able to step out to the 3-point line and shoot the ball. We saw it, I think, in the blue-white game it was. I mean, he hit 2 or 3 threes in the blue-white game. Now, I know it's the blue-white game. They don't play defense. I get that.
Right. He's got a nice
stroke. But it shows you he's got the ability to hit that shot. But even if he's not stepping out to the 3-point line, if he can hit an elbow jumper, like Oscar's hitting from the 5 spot, that's a good thing to have in your 5 guy.
Yeah.
So it's very encouraging to see him have those good minutes.
Right.
Because we saw it from Bryce Hopkins earlier in the year. He came into some games, he put up good numbers in limited minutes.
Right. Last 8 games, Damian Collins has played 12 minutes.
12 minutes. 2 points.
Yeah.
So
12 minutes. Answering the call, so you haven't played, and then you get thrown into a road game like Alabama, and you produce, and you come up.
And normally, like, who's the first guy off the bench for Oscar? It's Lance Ware.
Right.
Lance Ware didn't get as many minutes as Collins. I don't think. I didn't look at the minutes, but I don't think Lance Ware played at all in the second half. Did he?
I'm not for sure on that.
Well,
but also Lance Ware has given good minutes as well.
Right. But there was a possession where he had Oscar and Lance both in there at the same time, or a couple possessions. But Damian Collins, like, credit to Cal. Like, people say he doesn't make adjustments and he doesn't change things up during games and that stuff. Like, credit to Cal and the staff of seeing something in Bama's defense and recognizing, okay, we got a guy over here that can do some things against their defense and what they're doing. So let's give him a shot when we can and see what we can get out of it. And they got 10 points in 9 minutes.
Right.
So I think he had a steal too.
Yeah.
So he had it was a Marcus Lee type game. Not nearly as many minutes, but it was, he stuffed the stat sheet with points and rebounds and everything else.
And I got some replies saying the exact same thing. Marcus Lee vibe people was getting from him. But with that being said, let's hear what Coach Cal had to say on this subject in post game.
Our guard play was good, but Damian Collins was the difference maker. We had worked, I don't know what woke me up in the middle of the night saying lob, lob, lob. And I watched enough of their tape, they collapse. So you have that if you have a guy to throw it to. And I told him to shoot around and that we're going to throw this lob and I'm putting you in for that reason. And he played great. He played great defensively. What I love about it is I didn't play him for 6 games, 5 games. Never even looked at it. And he now has just forced me to figure out how to play it. You got to play. Got to play 15 minutes a game. Now it's on me. The other thing I'll tell you, there's all kind of ways of doing this. Again, I've coached about 35 years. My teams historically will shoot about 30% of threes. 10 to 12 turnovers, 16, 18 assists. Hold people. Usually I have a shot blocker. This year I don't. There's all kind of ways of doing this. And, dribble drive that we've gone to and gone back to now, and positionless where you're playing with 4 guards, even though they're bigger. You're making guys play like guards, but you can't start 4-6-2 guys. Can't do it. did. So we're doing it the way we do it. And again, I've done this a long time, and the consistency, that's me coaching. That's who I am. So this game today, when you shoot that many, if they go, you win. If they don't go, you lose. Unless you kept rebounding, and that was my thing the whole game. If you give them one shot, they're not going to have enough attempts to beat you. And we gave them 2-3 shots a couple different times.
Yeah. Cal post game after Alabama, lob. Cal had a dream.
Yep.
So now he's got to figure out how to play Damian Collins.
I think it's still going to be a matchup type thing. He's not a guy. He's not a kid that's going to be able to get consistent minutes in every game. It's just not going to happen because, going up against, just let's say Tennessee, Fulkerson and that 7'3" guy they got, whatever, or 7 foot tall guy. Like he's not gonna fare well in that game because those guys aren't overly athletic, so they rely on being physical and bumping you and pushing you and that type of stuff. So I don't think like that type of game will fit him. But if we get into a matchup where it's a run and gun up and down the floor type thing, they have a center who's slightly built and they're aggressive like Alabama was on the drives, then there's where you get in his minutes.
Lob City.
Right. So I still think it's going to be game to game, situation to situation with Damian Collins.
Yeah.
But he's flashed potential.
Right.
And that's all that you can ask for from a kid who never lifted a weight until he stepped foot on campus.
Right. And it has a message there to it to other players who not getting a lot of minutes, be ready.
Right.
Because when it's your time, you have to produce. And shout out to Damian Collins because that was huge.
And Bryce Hopkins
taking the most of his moment.
Bryce Hopkins is a prime example of that because he's buried on the depth chart behind Keon and Jacob.
Yeah.
Right. So it's hard to find him minutes until one of our guards or somebody gets in foul trouble. Then you've got to start stealing minutes to get him, and you get him in there, which Cal has done. Right. But I hope he sees that, there's still always a spot and there's always a place for him to play. He's just got to be ready to seize that opportunity when he gets it.
Yep.
Just like Damian Collins did. So, and we were talking about lobs. The most impressive lob of the night was probably the one to Keon from half court.
Yeah.
And then he had Ty who tried to do it, a couple minutes later to
off the backboard
to Damian. But I think
they were laughing about it like
right, because I think what happened was, Ty's mid pass. Well, you can't. It's basketball. You can't just stop. You're running. You're mid pass. You got to let go of that ball. Otherwise, it's a turnover. And I think Damian Collins stopped.
Yeah.
So there was like a miscommunication there, and then that ball was just bam right off the backboard. So
yeah.
But back to Wheeler and his pass, he hasn't scored the last 2 games, but he's got 16 assists in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
And only 6 turnovers.
Yeah.
So you're talking almost 3-to-1 assist turnover ratio. So he's doing other things to stay involved and help his team win by getting his teammates involved in good spots to score.
Right.
And he could have had probably 2 or 3 more assists in this game if not for drop passes.
Yeah.
So this could have been
throw the ball with one hand.
An 8 or 9 assist game for him if Davion doesn't drop that fast break. If he doesn't just lead Ty too far, So but it happens.
It was ugly track meet. Run. But Kentucky pulls it out 66-55. On a count of 3, roadkill, 1, 2, 3, roadkill.
I love that, by the way. At the end of those
yeah.
videos, when
Oh,
they
yeah.
do that, like
Yeah, it's a beautiful
whoever
thing.
whoever came up with that on the staff is a genius.
Yeah.
But whoever's running the Kentucky men's basketball Twitter account now
Shout out.
is killing
Fun.
it. Is
Yes.
killing it. Because it wasn't like that before. Like
Right.
there was no trash talking to other programs or anything after a win. So
It was lame.
yeah, I mean the
And
videos
now
they
it's
put out
fun.
were all right, but the content from the Twitter account itself wasn't great.
Right.
Now it's
Right.
fun. Now it's like
Yeah.
uh they whoever's running it trolled Alabama in their hard hats, after the game. They did the fisherman from the I think Geico commercial or whatever with the dollar bill from in the shoe store or whatever it was. So whoever it is that's running that account now is definitely doing the thing. So
Shout out to them. But Kentucky now 19-4, with 8 games left on the regular season schedule. Good year, total turnaround, and I'm here for it.
and this is a team that can win in so many different ways.
Yeah.
They can win in a shootout. They can win in a blowout. They can win in these ugly grind them out
Grind it
type
out.
games.
Yeah.
Because we've seen them do that 3 times now.
Yep.
Recently. So against Texas A&M, Vandy, and now Alabama. So that bodes well for success in March because you can win it. You're not reliant on one thing to win games. Unlike maybe some teams down south who go with the color red for their team name.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Let me add this too, real quick. Oscar Shibwe was 19 on the single season rebounding list. He is now at 14 with 349.
Moving up quick.
Yeah. When you 15 to 20 rebounds a game,
Right.
you're going to move right up that list. And that's where he
Yep.
sits right now, number 14 on the all time single season rebounding list. So we're sitting good. Next up, South Carolina, this Tuesday, February the 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. What do you think about this?
They just got waxed by Tennessee.
Yeah.
But playing in Columbia is always a weird thing for Kentucky. I think I saw that they haven't won in Columbia since like 2017. But it was the same thing with Alabama. They hadn't won at Bama since like 2017. So
Right.
We
need an ejection from Cal.
It seems to work in Columbia,
right?
When they're playing those Gamecock teams. Maybe we'll get a lob off the backboard, like we did Euless to what was it, Marcus Lee, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
So, because Coach Cal won't be there to stop him or yell at him for doing it. So,
yeah.
No, I said this I think last week. There's not a game left on the schedule that scares me.
Right.
As long as Kentucky is healthy, there's not a game that I don't think they're going to win. Now, are they going to go 8-0 in their last 8 games going into the tournaments?
Yes.
Probably not.
Yes.
Can they go 8-0? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I do expect them to drop one of either Tennessee or Arkansas. Because I mean it's bound to happen. So those are tough places to play on the road.
They are.
So I think that's what's going to happen. They'll drop one of those two, but other than that, I think they win out. So, finishing the season, that'd be 26-5. Not a bad year.
Not at all.
Not a bad year.
So that's where we
are. That's a solid 2 seed pushing for a 1 seed.
Yeah.
So
yep. And we'll get all into that stuff soon. But that's where we are. Kentucky rolling right along. Roadkill. Let's hope for another one this Tuesday at South Carolina. With that being said, you know what time it is. It is time for the dumbest shit from Twitter this week. What do you got, JD?
All right. So we got a couple things here. We don't have that's not too much, but let's start with Section 304 podcast. I think he was trying to say Cal has done, but Cal was done less with more than anyone in college basketball history at UK. They quit paying one and dones and now pay transfers to go 9 and 16.
Huh?
What? What? That tells me that my man doesn't watch college basketball.
Section 304.
Yeah.
Nosebleed.
All he's doing is he's worrying. He's looking at the record from last year and thinking, "Oh, that's what Kentucky always does." Right? The year before they were 25-6, won the SEC by 3 games, 3 full games, and were poised to make a run in the tournament. No other coach and team has outplayed their seed more often or better in the NCAA tournament than Kentucky has.
Facts.
Nobody since Coach Cal has gotten to Kentucky has more tournament wins.
Facts.
A
lot of people want to hang on last year.
They want to worry about last year. And 9 and 16 ain't what Kentucky does.
No.
19-4, on the other hand, that's more Kentucky like, right?
Right.
And really we should be 21-2 because we lost 2 games that we shouldn't have lost this year because of injuries.
Yeah.
So, Section 304, I don't know who you're a fan of, but man, I just clicked on it. It makes sense. He's a West Virginia fan.
Oh.
So we know what they're like. We know how they like to run their mouths and then get stomped by 39 points.
Right.
So that makes sense. That explains it.
We got it.
Yeah. So he's just pissy because Huggy Bear couldn't get Oscar, couldn't make him happy.
Right.
Right. You've got a kid on your roster who wasn't happy.
Right.
Because he wasn't where he wanted to be.
Right.
So it's up to you as a coach and a staff to make that kid feel at home, to make him feel like that's the place for me. Like I may have wanted to go to Kentucky out of high school, but now that I'm here, this is really where I need to be.
Right.
Right. That's on you as a staff.
It seems like that's kind of the theme of the dumb shit from Twitter this week. A lot of people just at Oscar like
right. And
when you're on top, I will say when you're on top and when you're doing things right, that's when you get the hate.
Right. And they're saying, well, it's a shame he couldn't do this last. Well, he did it his freshman year. He's Big 12 freshman of the year.
Facts.
And he was all Big 12 his freshman year. So what changed from year 1 to year 2? Right?
Maybe
to me, that's exactly. There you go. Ding, 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 ding. We got next.
We're moving right along. Let's see here. At Vooch's Beers. Do Kentucky fans actually believe Oscar has even a slight chance at National Player of the Year just because he gets rebounds? This has to be some elaborate troll, right? Question mark.
How many players have averaged 15 rebounds in a season?
Boy, oh boy.
Recently. It's not many.
You tell me.
It's not many. There was a kid. I just saw they showed it during the Kentucky game, Kentucky-Alabama game. There was a kid from a mid-major who did it. I think Tim Duncan did it or he was close.
Damn, that's been a while ago.
Blake Griffin was close. I think he was over 14. But what Oscar's doing rebounding is not something that's done every year. So when you have a guy who averages 16 points a game and over 15 rebounds a game, yes, he's going to be in the spotlight or in the running for National Player of the Year.
Right. Double damn near every game.
Because those numbers don't happen every year. You don't have guys putting those numbers up every year. So yes,
crazy.
somebody that's doing that is going to be in the conversation for National Player of the Year and have a real shot at winning National Player of the Year.
Right. And other guys in the race have averaged 20 points, 22 points a game.
Right.
That's it. That's it.
Right.
I would take a double, 16 and 15 over 20 points.
Right.
Every day.
Because you're impacting more of your team that way.
Right. Exactly.
You know, Oscar has the highest offensive rebound percentage in the country. That's
that's big shit.
Yeah, that's not something that's just easily done. It was over 20% of our missed shots he was rebounding by himself. And I think his overall number was like 36% or something like that of missed shots he was rebounding by himself. It's crazy. The numbers he's putting up on the rebounding end of the rebounding side of your team. So yes, as a Kentucky fan, Oscar Tshiebwe has a legitimate shot to win National Player of the Year.
Oh yeah, they're Illinois
He's
fans.
an Illinois fan, right? Yeah. That explains it. Because their center wanted to come to Kentucky and we wouldn't take him.
Right. So moving right along.
Yeah. You got this next one?
Go for it.
Let's go T-Rock 12-14. I know enough to know Amani would start for us. Should have paid him more than Penny. And Chet, you see the numbers he puts up against those WCC teams? I want him more than Oscar. Like, dude.
Because the West Coast Conference is just a beast.
Right. And it all started with him tweeting about Kentucky's favorite player and doing the same stupid shit that everybody's been doing for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Saying, you're telling me this guy can't play? Like,
speaking of Shade Sharp.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Like, all these dudes that are in front of him, behind him, whatever, that are playing, all had the offseason. We don't need to go through that.
Right.
But really? Amani Bates? Really? You think the bullshit that he's pulling at Memphis, he would be able to get away with at Kentucky and he'd be starting? I don't think so. It's not going to happen. Because Cal doesn't deal with that bullshit.
No.
Like, if you're a Kentucky fan, which I doubt T-Rock 12-14 really is, if you're a Kentucky fan, you already know that. But even so, why are you complaining about who's on the team? We're ranked number 5 in the country. We just waxed Kansas in their house. We just went to Bama, who has beaten Gonzaga, Houston, Baylor, Tennessee, all on their home floor. Beat them by double digits.
1, 2, 3, roadkill. 1, 2, 3, roadkill.
Like, I don't know what it is with some of the people in our fan base that just can't be happy.
Yeah, it's
because Amani Bates wouldn't change this team. Well, he probably would. He'd probably make this team worse. So, no, I don't want Amani Bates. I never wanted Amani Bates. And anybody who's seen him play has said he peaked as like a sophomore in high school.
T-Rock 12-14, class dismissed. What do we got next? D. Thompson, UK. And this is in response to Chris Fisher's tweet. He said, have definitely been picking up on some John Calipari I told you so vibes last week or so. And to be fair, a lot of people were calling for him to burn it all down and start over after last season. But he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. And the reply from D. Thompson, UK, one, he did exactly what fans have been telling him to do for years, and now he's winning. If anything, it shows he should have listened earlier because that's how he became a Hall of Fame coach.
Right. By listening to the fans.
Listening to couch potatoes.
I saw that tweet from Chris Fisher. Kyle Tucker retweeted it, saying he pretty much did burn it down, when you're talking about new assistants and all that stuff. Okay. He blew up the bench. We all know that. When you get rid of two of your top assistants, you're blowing it up when you replace that many guys. But did he blow up his offensive system? No, he just tweaked it. That's all he did. Because we're still playing the same way and with a balanced offense that can score at all three levels. Which, if anybody has watched Calipari his entire coaching career, that's what he does. That's what the offense does. They put in the dribble weave out on top so that to help with Severe and people not being able to sag off him so far to get him into the paint to make plays. But the tweak was playing more 4 out, 1 in. You don't have two bigs parked in the paint, one in the low post, one in the high post, which we saw from Cal for a couple of years. So now he's got that 4 guy playing more out on the perimeter with Keon and shooting that mid-range jumper, and Jacob Toppin, spacing the floor, being out of the paint. The pace of play, they've ratcheted that back up a little bit. So he didn't blow up the offense. We averaged more 3-point shots per game last year than we're averaging this year. This year we're averaging like 18.5 a game. I'm fine with that. It's right around that 20 shot mark. Like me and you talked earlier in the year.
Yep.
I'd want to see him shoot, depending on the number of possessions, 20 to 25 threes. We're at 18.5. I can deal with that. Because we're so efficient scoring at all levels of the floor. So he didn't need to blow anything up. And he didn't blow anything up. All he did is tweak it just a little bit to make it more effective.
And thank God he doesn't listen to fans.
Right. Because what did all these fans that are saying they wanted him to blow it up, what did they want him to start doing? They wanted him to start doing what Alabama was doing last year.
Right.
Because Alabama won the SEC last year. How's that working for Alabama this year?
Yeah, how's that working?
They shoot more threes than any other Power 5 school in the country. But they're like 320th in the country in shooting percentage from 3.
D. Thompson, UK 1, class dismissed.
Yeah. Nothing needed to be blown up, overhauled, or burnt down. Now, the changes to the coaching staff had to happen because Barbie and Justice weren't getting it done. But his offensive philosophy and what we do on offense did not need to change. It just needed to be tweaked a little bit just to be more effective now. And he's done exactly that.
And I guess we'll end on this last one. This was sent to me by someone. I think it came from Facebook. I'm not for sure. Dan Key, Big Blue Nation group. Ty disappears in games against Power 5 teams. Duke, Notre Dame, North Carolina, LSU, Texas A&M, Kansas. Only big games was Tennessee at home. I'm not being negative. It's time to show up in big games, Ty.
You are being negative because you're bitching. And
I feel like when
just
people say this, they're not actually watching the game.
right, because yeah, Ty only had 2 points against Kansas, but what did we do against Kansas?
Destroyed.
Ty was like plus 19 in that game. They only scored 2 points.
Yeah.
I will give you the Duke game. I will give you that. He pressed too much in that game. He didn't do anything outside of
First game of the year.
First game of the year, he didn't do anything outside of the offensive end to help the team win. But other than that, like Notre Dame, who showed up in that game? Did anybody show up in that game? Because we shot 2 for 19 from 3. So everybody shit the bed in that game.
Yeah.
North Carolina, we won it by 28 points. Why are you complaining that he only scored 9? I don't care that he only scored 9 points. Because
he does so much more than score.
He doesn't have to score to impact games.
Right.
What was the next one? LSU. Yes, he only had 5 points, but he missed a lot of that game because of the cramp. He got injured. Was that before halftime that he got injured? Or right after halftime?
Oh, right after, I believe.
Yeah. So, and that affected him the rest of the game. He came back in. You saw what he did. Texas A&M, like, we won the game. So why does it matter?
Right.
The only 2 games on this list where he was healthy and played the whole game that you're complaining about were Duke, first game of the year, and Notre Dame, when everybody played bad. So it's not like everybody played well and then Ty got, what he did with
right.
the terrible numbers. So, and I'm getting the Texas A&M stats up right here because I want to bring up the stats in that game.
And this is point period. Ty does so much in a game other than score. I mean, if you're just no.
We won the Texas A&M game by 6 points. Ty was plus 6. He was 3 of 10 from the field, 0 for 1 on threes. But he also only played 23 minutes. So it's not like he played the same number of minutes he normally does. Right. But that's the impact that he has in the game. Yes, he only scored 8 points, and yes, he only shot 3 of 10 on field goals. But he was still plus 6. Keon was our highest plus-minus guy that game, and he was plus 7. So there's nothing to complain about because he scored 8 points in that game. Who cares? His plus-minus was as good or better than everybody else on the team other than Keon Brooks.
Right. Dan Key, class dismissed. Boy, oh boy. That was the dumbest shit from Twitter this week. Man, it never ceases to amaze me.
No, it's
a never-ending story, and it is what it is. And then we're going to make our case for no and move on about it.
It was good to get back to a regular dumbest shit from Twitter.
Yes.
Than what we've had the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, beef. Yeah. But yeah, man, Kentucky.
Did you see Van tweeting about that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're gonna stay in our lane, man.
And our lane is to not let that stupid shit go.
Right. It's comedy. It's comedy.
Yeah.
But Kentucky is rolling right along. I'm hyped up. Looking forward to the South Carolina game Tuesday. It is what it is. It's going down. I just got a feeling that Cal's going to get ejected from this game.
You think?
I got a feeling. We're due. We're due. We're due for one. So that'll be my prediction for the game. And I'm still waiting on Severe Willer's 18 assists.
You're running out of time.
I know. I know, man.
Maybe he'll do it at Florida against Florida this weekend.
Hopefully. I don't care when, just hopefully. But that's where we are. Tune in to Religiously Kentucky. Got some great guests coming in these next few weeks. Follow JD on Twitter at Tiffin Wildcat. And you can follow myself, Jay Hayes, at J Hayes KY. And follow our podcast on Twitter as well at Religiously KY. On Facebook, Religiously Kentucky. Just search, you'll see it. We do big stuff.
We have a YouTube page too. We're going to get to using that, but if you want to get on there early and subscribe to it so you're already ready to go once you start using it, do that too.
Yes. Subscribe, like, all that stuff.
Yep.
It only takes a few seconds. And which is funny because we'll talk about it at a later date. We got some funny stuff for y'all to talk about. But I'm your guy, Jay Hayes, and he is
JD Hall.
We are Religiously Kentucky.
This was another episode of Religiously Kentucky.
It was great. Thanks for the hospitality.
If you liked this episode, make sure to give us a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes and our opinionated take on the world of Kentucky sports. Religiously Kentucky.
Time management was